We had been engaged for 3 years when Clara's big confession about loving her ex-boyfriend went viral. This time, I didn't try to fix it. I quit my job at Monroe Industries, packed up all the jewelry her family gave me, and told Clara, "Let's end the engagement." She just laughed at me, her smile full of mockery. "Are you trying to play hard to get? Let me be clear," she said. "I skipped our engagement party, and I'll come to the wedding only if I feel like it." She added, "Besides, you'd do anything to get a piece of the company." The second I walked into the Monroe Industries office, everyone went quiet. Even with a bad headache from not sleeping, I could feel them all staring at me. It was a mix of feeling sorry for me and looking down on me. After I went into my office, I could hear them start whispering outside my door. The new intern's voice was the loudest. "Clara is unbelievable. She has a fiancé as great as Mr. Leo, and she's still... Oh, another one of Clara's scandals." For the last 3 years, every time she had an affair that got public, she never said a word. I was always the one who had to deal with the press. Monroe Industries had a PR team that would call me the minute something bad happened. After 3 years, I was used to people hating me online, and I didn't really feel anything about these looks anymore. The internet even had a nickname for me, the guy who's way too obsessed with her. I rubbed my head and closed the door, blocking out the noise with a blank look. I nodded to the person waiting by my desk. "Let's begin, Nina." The transfer of my duties just needed a few final signatures today, and then my time at Monroe Industries would be done. Nina sorted the papers, but didn't leave like she normally would. She was mixed race, and her dark blue eyes were looking straight at me. Suddenly, she asked, "Why are you quitting? Are you still going to marry her, even after this?" Nina had been my assistant for 3 years, and this was the first time she had ever been so direct about my personal life. I looked at her, a little confused. Nina's long fingers tapped her phone. It was a video from a party celebrating the end of a show my fiancée, Clara, and the new popular actor, Alex Rider, were in. The two of them were clearly very close. After some joking around, Clara's pretty eyes smiled in a way I hadn't seen since she was 18, back when she argued with her family about wanting to be an actress. The reporter asked what her first impression of Alex was. Clara tilted her head, a small smile on her lips. "Full of life. Free." Alex's handsome face turned a little red, his smile becoming shy. My eyes locked onto something. I saw a charm hanging from Alex's phone. It was a snowflake made of diamonds, carefully made around a smaller, simpler snowflake in the middle. It was a birthday present I had given Clara once. The reporter then asked Clara what type of person she liked. Clara's face darkened, like she thought of something bad. Her answer was totally different from the question. "I hate people who just follow the rules and are willing to be someone's puppet." The reporter grabbed the chance. "That sounds like the total opposite of Mr. Ryder. We heard you two went to the same high school. Is he your perfect type?" I already knew the answer. A second later, Clara admitted it. "He has been, since I was 18. The screen filled up with pink comments from fans, completely hiding the two of them. Amid all the "they are perfect together" and "Clara x Alex forever" messages, I saw one dark comment. "But isn't Clara engaged?" A fan replied right away. "She doesn't even wear a ring, and she skipped her own engagement party. They've been engaged for years and never married. They never interact. It's probably just for show. Seriously, who still believes in arranged marriages? This isn't the old days." The next story showed pictures of them going into a bar late at night, and then supposedly going back to a hotel together. I calmly gave the phone back to Nina. "Nina, please write up a statement announcing the end of our engagement." I had planned to write it myself, to end these 3 years. but now it just didn't seem important. This was the first time I had ever asked someone else to handle something related to Clara. Nina's eyes got wide, her voice shaking a little. Okay. It was strange to see Nina so emotional. Watching her quickly get up and leave, I was a bit surprised. I never knew that the quiet, careful Ms. Nina was such a gossip. A sharp pain hit my head again. I rubbed it, feeling all the tiredness from years of holding it in wash over me. But it wasn't done. There was one last thing. I was woken up by Clara's footsteps. I had waited on the sofa for so long I fell asleep. Clara had her coat over her arm and was leaning very close. I could feel the air from her eyelashes. When she saw I was awake, she stepped back and frowned, her eyes cold and missing the warmth she had in the interview. You wanted to see me? She still smelled like alcohol from last night. Her shirt was unbuttoned, showing a small red mark near her collarbone. I looked away and heard my own voice, calm and even. Clara, we need to talk, Clara scoffed. Are you giving me another message from my mother? Forget it. I'm not interested in taking over the company. Isn't having you as her puppet good enough? I said, Ms. Monroe approved my resignation. Clara's hand, which was unbuttoning her shirt, stopped. She looked very impatient. You quit? Is she forcing you to marry me? Did she finally figure out that tripping me up wasn't working, so now she's just putting a spy in my house? I calmly said what I had said many times. Ms. Monroe is busy with work. She doesn't have time to make your life hard. It was true. The Monroe family was in manufacturing, completely separate from the entertainment world. Clara wasn't trained as an actress. Her success was, mostly because of her looks. But in that world, shady things happened. Clara had a lot of trouble when she first started. Just like in high school, when she blamed me for her mother knowing everything she did, Clara truly believed her mother was trying to ruin her career. Clara shook her head, like she was shooing a fly. If it wasn't for Grandma's last wish, who would want to marry you? My career is just starting. I don't have time for a wedding. Just tell me the time and place, and I'll come if I'm in the mood. Her lips curved into a mocking smile. Besides, you'd put up with anything for a piece of Monroe Industries. Monroe Industries was started by Clara's grandmother and then run by her mother, Evelyn Monroe. After Evelyn took over, she was all about the business, so Clara was raised by her grandmother. 12 years ago, on a rainy day, my real father came home after gambling for 2 days. His eyes were red as he held up a belt, demanding the last bit of money my mother had left for me. If I gave it to him, we wouldn't have food. If I didn't, he might beat me to death. I didn't want to die. I wanted to eat and go to school. I ran as fast as I could in the rain, running right onto the highway. If the Monroe family's driver hadn't hit the brakes, I probably would have died right there. I fell on the ground, my heart beating so fast I thought it would jump out of my chest. Tears, rain, and headlights blurred everything. A pair of warm hands helped me up, half holding me as a soft cloth wiped the dirt from my face. I opened my eyes and saw the worried, dark eyes of a teenage Clara. Leo, are you okay? My father was already held down on the ground by the Monroe's driver. His face was pressed against the wet pavement, his eyes full of hate as he kept cursing. I was so scared, I fainted in Clara's arms. When I woke up, I was in a hospital. Clara's wet hair was stuck to her head, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She was tossing an apple by my bed. When she saw I was awake, she smiled. Hey, top student, I'm Clara. She picked up a knife and started to peel the apple. Don't worry, she said. That loser dad of yours has been dealt with. I thanked her quietly, then asked, You know who I am? She messed up peeling the apple, gave up, and threw it. Hearing me, she smiled again. The genius from Northwood High. Who doesn't know you? For a girl who grew up rich, that day was probably the closest she ever got to seeing how ugly being poor was. She refused to let me pay her back, looking at me with pity. Your dad is awful. Since I saw it, it's my problem now. Don't worry, the one thing the Monroe family has is money. That night she went home and begged Evelyn to adopt me. Evelyn, of course, said no, but her sick grandmother said the house was too quiet, and Clara's grades were bad. As long as I tutored Clara, I was allowed to move into the Monroe home. For the first 2 years, Clara treated me like a little brother, always, bringing me new snacks and toys she thought boys would like. She dangled a snowflake bracelet she skipped class to buy in front of me, trying to get me to call her sis. But after a long, awkward quiet, I just said, "Clara?" Clara sighed. "Leo, you're no fun." Evelyn wasn't interested in me. She was busy with company politics, and we barely saw her. That changed when my school trophies started filling up a room. Her look became more and more pleased. She started calling me to her office to ask questions, and even hired special teachers for me so I could win international contests. During my 4 years of college, I worked in different parts of Monroe Industries. After the engagement, Evelyn decided I would join the company's senior management as Clara's fiancé. Clara and her mother never got along. Besides both being beautiful, Clara was nothing like her. She always skipped class, got in fights, and dated. She had no interest in business and said she was going to be an actress with Alex. As Clara got older, their relationship got worse. Until one day, after a huge fight, Evelyn yelled, "Why can't you be half as easy as Leo?" Then she slammed the door. Clara watched me coldly as I tried to comfort her. Then she said, "Are you her dog? Why do you do everything she says? She tells you what to study, and you study. You practice all day like a robot just to win trophies for her. Do you have any opinions of your own? What do you like? Do you even know? I was the one who brought you home, but you chose her side." Her eyes got cold. "Leo, your last name isn't Monroe. No matter what you do, she'll never give you shares." I found out later that people around her were always whispering that Evelyn was training an orphan to be the new boss because her own daughter was a disappointment. They said I was working so hard just to steal her inheritance. I opened my mouth to say, "I'm really not." The words sounded weak, but I was the one they were supporting. I wasn't a Monroe. What could I offer besides good grades and obedience? Clara suddenly got closer. I could smell her perfume. "Tomorrow, we're racing motorcycles on the back roads. If you want me to believe you, be there. Then I'll believe you." She knew I had a competition the next day, one that Evelyn cared a lot about. The next day, I went to the competition. After I finished my test early, the first thing I saw on my phone was a news alert. The illegal racing spot on the back roads was shut down for good. A message from Clara popped up. "No wonder my mom knows everything. The fact I'm with Alex, that I skip class, so you were the snitch." I replied, "It wasn't me." But a red exclamation mark appeared. "Once someone suspects you, they assume you're guilty." She never wanted to hear my side. I turned off the screen, my mind empty. But I didn't regret it. I couldn't stand the idea of Clara getting in an accident. After that, Clara probably saw me as part of the family holding her back. Boring, careful, and obedient. The total opposite of her first love. Alex. Alex was flashy. In high school, he already had a small part in a big movie. He stayed overseas for college, which is why they broke up. If it hadn't been for her grandmother's last wish, for her 2 favorite children to be together, Clara never would have agreed to marry me. Clara didn't even come to the engagement party. She only showed up with a stiff face when they had to put on a show for her grandmother. Evelyn bought the rings. I have both of them. I've worn mine for 3 years. Clara never asked about hers. In her will, her grandmother left me 5% of the company stock, but only if I married Clara. This probably made Clara even more sure that I was just after the Monroe family money. But I didn't care what she thought anymore. Today, it would all end. I touched the faint mark on my finger where the ring used to be, feeling like even that mark was a joke. I breathed out slowly and said, "It's not about the wedding. It's about ending the engagement. The list and the jewelry are in the bedroom. You should check." On the nightstand, 2 engagement rings held down a list of all the jewelry her grandmother had given me. I wasn't keeping any of it. Clara froze. She threw her coat on the sofa and frowned. "Don't think I don't know you studied psychology. Finally have time to play games? Playing hard to get?" She pressed her fingers to her head. "Fine. We're not even married, and you're already splitting things up. So how do we figure out what the Monroe family spent on you all these years?" "I've already settled that with Ms. Monroe." After Evelyn finished reading my resignation letter, she was quiet for a long time. She pulled a cigarette from a silver case, and I lit it for her. The cigarette burned halfway down before Evelyn finally spoke. "Mom was confused near the end, but you were always there. Monroe Industries successfully changed, and our profits tripled. That's mostly because of you. And I wouldn't have had any peace these past few years without you watching Clara." Evelyn took a breath. "Leo, Clara is too young. She doesn't know how to value what she has." I managed a small smile. "I wouldn't be where I am today without you." Evelyn sighed, her sharp eyes looking a little tired through the smoke. "Have you thought about where you'll go next?" I thought of the snowy mountains far away, of the thrill of climbing. For the first time in a long time, I felt relieved. "Yes, I have." Evelyn finished her cigarette. The serious CEO's face softened, and she gently patted my hand. "Remember to come back and visit. The Monroe home is your home too." I didn't want to waste any more words on Clara, so I stood up. But Clara suddenly grabbed my wrist. Her dark eyes stared at me, her grip tight. "Where are you going?" Clara looked around the living room, probably noticing I had no luggage. She sighed in relief. I said, "There's one last thing. That snowflake. Charm? Can I have it back?" Most gifts I'd given Clara she'd tossed aside. Only that charm was on her phone, and she probably just forgot it was there. Judging by Clara's scandals, she had plenty of ways to charm Alex. I added, "If you can, please give it to Nina. She'll give it to me." Clara's hand suddenly let go. She seemed to be in a much better mood, leaning back on the sofa. "So that's it. You're jealous. It was just for publicity." I cut her off. "We're not together anymore. You don't have to explain." I had said what I needed to. I didn't want to drag this out, and I walked to the door. Clara's voice, smiling, came from behind me. "Come back soon. I drank too much and I don't feel well. I want you to make me porridge in the morning." My feet stopped for a second. Once, when Clara was acting in another country, she called me after drinking, complaining her stomach hurt. Even though I had been working non-stop for a month, I still flew over 10 hours to take care of her. The next day, when she was sober, her first reaction when she saw me was a cold look. "What are you doing here, so stupid?" I said, "Goodbye, Clara." Clara replied lazily, "I want the pumpkin spice porridge." I left the house and went straight to the airport. 10 hours later, I was at the base of Mont Crestview. After checking into a local inn, I turned off my phone and slept for a full day and night. If the nice innkeeper hadn't pulled me out of bed for food, I could have kept sleeping. I splashed cold water on my face and looked in the mirror. My face, which was already serious, combined with my tired eyes, made me look like I belonged in a sad indie movie. Clara had won an award for a movie like that. She was a serious actress. For one scene, she had to be in a room with a rat from a sewer, and she wouldn't use a double. She took so many showers after, and insisted on sleeping in my arms for a week. Even though she told me not to get any ideas, I was really happy then. I thought we were finally getting closer. I patted my cheeks to wake up. The long sleep hadn't made me feel better. Instead, all the tiredness from years seemed to come out, leaving me exhausted. I walked downstairs like a zombie and was staring at a bowl of porridge when I saw someone I knew. "Nina," I said, surprised. The person turned around. With eyes as blue as the sea, it had to be Nina. "What are you doing here? Is there a problem at the office?" Nina walked over and sat down next to me. "I'm here for the mountain climb next month." The same reason I was here. I was suspicious, but then I remembered her resume did say she liked climbing. She was even president of her college climbing club. Before I left, I had asked Ms. Monroe to promote Nina. She should be really busy right now. How did she have time? Nina gently shook her head and moved a small dish closer to my porridge. "I quit." I frowned. "You've worked with me for so long. Who at the company would dare bother you? Was it those old guys on the board?" I reached for my phone, but realized it was in my room. Nina gently put a hand on my wrist. "No one bothered me. It just didn't make sense to stay anymore." Even though Nina and I worked together for 3 years, we only talked about work. I respectfully dropped the topic. "If you have any trouble, let me know. I still have some connections." Nina had already peeled 2 shrimp and put them on my plate. She smiled warmly, her blue eyes sparkling. "Thank you in advance, Leo." I put a shrimp in my mouth, thinking I was worrying for nothing. With a face like hers, Nina could always be a model. But my hand shook, and the shrimp I was trying to pick up fell. Nina frowned slightly. "Are you in any shape to climb a mountain?" "The difficulty isn't high. Once the team gets together and plans the route, it should be okay." I waved my hand. "It's nothing." Then I dropped my chopsticks. I tried to bend down and heard my back crack. It seemed my job had hurt me more than I thought. Nina looked at me, worried. "Leo, the weather on Mont Crestview changes fast. You really need to be in good shape. I know a bit of massage. I can help you with some therapy." She added, "Think of it as an advance thank you for the recommendation." I hadn't realized how bad my body was. A little annoyed at myself, I agreed. The innkeeper walked by with a broom, winking at me. He whispered, "Been a few years, huh? Secret crush finally worked out? Your girlfriend is so handsome. No wonder you were crying over that piece of ice back then." I said awkwardly, "We're not—" Nina seemed not to hear. "Leo, should we start now?" Nina's room was right next to mine. That night, sitting by the fire, I couldn't hold back my questions. I turned to look at her calm face, searching for any sign of a secret plan. "Nina, I paid you enough these past 3 years, right? Are you here to hunt me down?" Nina paused, then looked at me, her blue eyes reflecting the fire. "Leo, do you remember Mont Silver Peak? You were—" she breathed out. "I was the person you found." Mont Silver Peak was one of the hardest mountains to climb in the country. People said a mountain spirit protected the top, and the weather was awful. Many climbers had died there. At the time, my team and I were halfway up when we heard a climber from another team got lost in a blizzard. Instead of going to the top, I joined the search and was lucky to find her almost buried in snow. I was really surprised. "That was you? You have no idea how heavy you were." "Before I met the team, I thought I was going to die up there with you, Nina just hummed, her eyes on me. You said then that you wanted to climb Mount Silver Peak again with me. I remembered. The wind was howling, and I couldn't see anything. I was struggling to drag the heavy woman, yelling just to keep myself going. I had said we both had to survive, that I wanted to see Clara again, that I still wanted to reach the top of Mount Silver Peak. The thought of Clara made my heart feel heavy. I forced a smile. I'm planning to go at the end of the year. If you're still interested, you can join. That answered some of my questions. I teased her, so that's why someone with your skills was willing to be my assistant? You were trying to pay back a debt? Nina nodded. I asked your team. You stopped climbing after that. Why? Climbing Mount Silver Peak was the most impulsive thing I'd ever done. My grandmother had just passed away. I don't believe in gods, but I heard the spirit of Mount Silver Peak could grant a wish to those who reached the top. I wanted to wish for my grandmother to have a healthy, happy next life. I stared at the fire. I hadn't paid my debts back then. I couldn't risk having an accident. It's different now. I have nothing holding me back. I'm free to finally do what I want. Nina asked, "Why do you love climbing?" I was quiet for a moment. It must have been the alcohol, because I started speaking honestly. Because when you're climbing, all you can think about is the climb. And when you reach the top, you feel so small. All my love, all my hate, all my pain, it all seems so unimportant compared to how big the world is. It's like I become part of the mountain. I stared at the bottle and mumbled, I really love that feeling. Nina didn't say anything, just listened. Her look was so intense I couldn't stand it, so I changed the subject. Did you release the statement about the engagement? Nina's voice was low. Yes. I asked again. Did Clara give you a diamond snowflake? Nina shook her head. She went straight to Ms. Monroe's office the next day. She didn't give me anything. Nina took a sip of her drink. Is that snowflake important? I took a sip of my drink. Not really. Mount Crestview was the first mountain I ever climbed to the top. I brought a snowflake down, saved it in resin so it would never melt. Even the diamonds I used to decorate it were bought with prize money from competitions. To anyone else, it's just a worthless, sentimental thing. It probably only means something to me. How a gift is treated depends on how important the person who gave it is. Clara still wore the little ring Alex had given her in high school. I was lost in thought, staring at my glass when I heard Nina's voice. It's not sentimental. Huh? I looked at her. Nina's eyes were a little red. It's romantic. If it were me, I would treasure it forever. I gave her a strange look. I realized Nina seemed to care a lot about these kinds of stories. I pictured her listening to a late-night romance show, crying into her blanket. I couldn't help but laugh. My mood got much better. Nina quietly took the drink from my hand and changed the topic. We train together tomorrow. Get some rest tonight. I really thought Monroe Industries wasn't paying Nina enough. She must have been working at a gym and a massage place on the side. She made a detailed physical recovery plan for me, and her massage skills were amazing. After another session, feeling light and strong, I had to ask, "How do you know how to do this?" Nina laughed softly. "I went and learned after we came down from the mountain that time." Nina was also an expert on all kinds of climbing gear. I had left the Monroe house with nothing and planned to buy new equipment, but she had already prepared everything. She was also an amazing cook and would use the inn's kitchen to make meals. The innkeeper, after stealing a few meals, was totally won over. After dinner, he rubbed his round belly and looked at Nina washing dishes. Handsome and a great cook. She's perfect. If she's not your girlfriend, can you leave her here? He said seriously, we really need someone talented like her. The sound of water stopped. I laughed. She's not for sale. The water started running again. I noticed Nina's ears were bright red. I had only known Nina to be perfect at work. I had no idea she was just as good at taking care of someone. As I watched Nina dry her hands and walk over, I had to say, "It's only been a few days, and I already feel like I can't live without you." Nina's eyes lit up as she smiled. I couldn't help but stare. With her mixed background, she had sharp features, and her eyes sparkled. I realized she had basically been acting as my personal assistant, and suggested, "Interested in staying on as my assistant? I'll pay you the same rate as Monroe Industries. You won't be losing money." Nina's smile disappeared. The air around her got cold. After a long moment, she mumbled, "No, thank you. Just think of me as your secret helper." "That won't work. Taking advantage of kindness isn't my style." The next day, we were going to climb the mountain, so that night I put aside a bank card, planning to give it to her when we got back. Next to the card was my phone, which had been off for a long time. I paused, then plugged it in and turned it on. I expected a few missed calls and some sarcastic messages from Clara. I never thought that when it turned on, my phone would get so many messages and calls that it would freeze and go black. I stood there, stunned. A familiar feeling of tiredness washed over me. I tossed the phone in the air, thinking about throwing it right into the bonfire downstairs, but the nearest bank was 2 hours away. These days you can't escape the world if you have internet. I sighed and turned the phone back on. The screen was frozen for a long time before it finally worked. I scrolled to the top and saw a message from Clara, sent the day after I left. "Leo, you'd better not regret this." A few days later, she sent a news article. I clicked it. It was a clarification video. Before the reporter could even finish, Clara was staring at the camera. The part of the interview about my ideal type was acting out a scene from the show. "Mr. Ryder and I are just professional partners. We have no personal relationship. Anyone spreading rumors will be sued." Her eyes were red, and she had a strange, obsessive look. The comments, however, were wild. Did Clara end her engagement so she can date Alex? Am I the only one who saw the ring on her hand? She didn't wear one when she was engaged, but now that it's over, she's wearing one? I think she's engaged to Alex. To all the guesses about Alex, Clara just replied, "Not true. The engagement is not off." I rewound the video and saw she had taken off the little ring she always wore and replaced it with her engagement ring. I closed the video, my face blank, and quickly read through the messages. "You're just going to ignore Grandma's last wish? Leo, do you have a conscience? The Monroe family raised you, and you just quit. Our competitors are using this, and our stock price dropped. Is that your idea of being responsible? I never agreed to end the engagement, and I won't sign anything. What gives you the right to have the company release a statement? How could you leave with nothing? Don't you know how to protect yourself? My mom said I deserved this. Wasn't she paying you to watch me? Why aren't you listening to her either? Leo, Alex took the snowflake charm by mistake. I didn't give him your things. Leo, I can't sleep. I'm drunk. Come pick me up. Leo, my stomach hurts. If you don't come, I'll just die from the pain. The messages stopped 2 days ago. The last one read, Leo, why can't I find you? She had called 78 times that night. I turned off the screen. A headache starting. If this had been a few years ago, any sign from Clara that she needed me would have made me ignore her hurtful words and feel happy. But now, all I felt was disgust, like watching someone eat rotten food. I looked out at the dark shape of the mountain and thought, I really should have thrown the phone in the fire. But a second later, the screen lit up again. Open the door. A knock sounded at the same time, sharp and angry. I gritted my teeth and ignored it. But eventually I got up and opened the door. The second it opened, a dark shape, smelling like snow and wind, threw itself at me, holding me tight. Clara gritted her teeth, her voice a mean whisper in my ear. "Leo, you bastard! How could you just disappear? No one would tell me where you were. I thought you were dead." Even her breath was cold, freezing my ear. I struggled to push her away. "Ms. Monroe, we have no relationship now. Please have some self-respect." Her eyes burned with anger. She grabbed my wrist. "No relationship? I took you in off the street? Is that no relationship? The Monroe family found the evidence to make sure your father got a life sentence. Is that no relationship? I never signed your stupid papers, and I don't accept your statement. You still own 5% of Monroe Industries, and I am still your fiancé. Is that no relationship?" "Enough." Her voice became a sharp buzz in my ears. I shouted back, I know. I owe the Monroe family everything. You don't have to remind me. You saved me, your grandmother loved me, and your mother invested in me." "Clara, what did you want me to do? Skip class with you, be your manager in another country, and fight Ms. Monroe with you?" Miss Monroe was in a power struggle with the board until last year. If the company's changes had failed, it would have gone broke. Your grandmother's and your mother's life's work would be gone. Could you stand to see them lose everything, living in a tiny apartment to pay off debts? If I hadn't been perfect at everything, do you think Ms. Monroe would have ignored all your messing around? Clara, while you were off acting in another country, your grandmother's Alzheimer's had gotten so bad she would talk to her reflection all day. You had to chase your dream. Yes, Miss Monroe was against it, but the world doesn't revolve around you. Everyone has their own lives and problems. We don't have time to always be the bad guy in your story." Clara stared at me quietly. She suddenly reached out to touch my face. I couldn't move in time, and only then saw the cold tears on her hand. Clara had always been proud, even arrogant, but now she was looking down at the tears, murmuring, "I'm sorry. I didn't feel myself crying." It was like my tiredness itself was speaking. "Clara, I was the one who reported the motorcycle race. I went to check it out that night. There were no guardrails, no barriers, no emergency medical help. The nearest hospital was 3 miles away. I couldn't imagine you getting in an accident. But other than that, I have never spied on you." Clara whispered, "I believe you." In the past, anything I said was met with a cold laugh. This "I believe you" came way too late. I said, "Go home, I don't want the shares. Every penny I have, I earned. If you still think I owe the Monroe family, you can take it all. Let's not contact each other again." Clara's head snapped up, her eyes red. She reached out to hug me again. "No!" I pushed her away so hard that my head hit the door. Just then, Nina came up the stairs. Nina rushed to my side and slapped Clara across the face. She held me steady, her eyes urgent. "Leo, are you okay?" Clara, caught off guard, stumbled and fell. She looked up, blood at the corner of her mouth, the confusion in her eyes slowly turning into a dark anger. "Your assistant? Leo, you left me for her?" I suddenly found the whole situation ridiculous and couldn't help but laugh. I didn't even know why I had wasted my breath on that speech. Clara's first reaction was always suspicion. She never trusted me. Maybe it started with her friends causing trouble, but she chose to believe them. I stared at Clara. That brief sight of her in the rain had kept me going through so many sleepless nights, had pushed me to win so many times. But if it took over 10 years of work, real sacrifices, and screaming just to earn a tiny bit of her trust, then I didn't want it anymore. She was once the light of my youth. But now I wished I had never met her. I said, "That's right. Nina and I have been seeing each other this whole time. I broke off the engagement because I felt guilty. That's the kind of person I am. You should celebrate getting away from me." Nina stepped in front of me, her voice as cold as ice. "Ms. Monroe, please stop harassing my boyfriend. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to solve this my own way." I gave her a confused look. She was getting into character surprisingly fast. Suddenly, sirens filled the courtyard. The police arrived just in time to see Clara lunging at Nina. The innkeeper came running up behind them, panting and holding a wooden club. "Leo, I'm here!" As Clara was being led away, she was still shouting at me, "Leo, I'm your fiancé!" I snorted. "You didn't even show up to the engagement party. I could say I'm engaged to your mother and it would be just as true." Clara's face went white. Her lips trembled, but she couldn't say a word. I called Ms. Monroe and got her reply. "Let her stay there. A couple of days in a cell will straighten her out." When I turned around, I saw Nina kneeling by the bed, testing the water temperature in a basin. She explained softly, "Your hands are cold. Soaking your feet will help you sleep." I did as she said and put my feet in, watching as Nina put ointment on my forehead and then wrung out a hot towel to wash my face. I felt a little embarrassed and took the towel from her. "I'm not a child. An assistant doesn't need to be this careful." Nina hummed, a small smile in her blue eyes. "Boyfriend privileges." I felt awkward and apologized. "I'm sorry, Nina, for dragging you into this." Nina shook her head. It was an honor, even if it was fake. I mentally decided to double her pay for the month and add extra for the trouble. I joked, "You're a pretty good actress. Maybe you should try that. It's got a better future than being my assistant." Nina said, "I wasn't acting." She said, "My feelings for you weren't an act." Nina dropped that news as casually as throwing a bomb and then walked out, leaving me stunned. A moment later, she came back with warm milk, put it on the nightstand, and said, "If you can't sleep, come find me. I'll be right outside." As she was about to leave, I quickly called her. "Nina?" She walked to the bed and looked down at me. I said, "If that's the reason you're staying with me, then again, I'm sorry. I'm not looking for a relationship right now, and I might not be for a long time. I finally have time to do what I want. For the next 10 years, I plan to climb the highest mountains, the ones no one has climbed, and I'm even going to try free soloing. I won't deny that I like you, but that's it." When Nina heard the words, "like you," her eyes lit up. I had a feeling if she had a tail, it would be wagging. She said, "Wait here." Less than a minute later, a personal resume was in my hands. Unlike the professional one, this one listed every detail of Nina's life, her entire school history, detailed physical health, bank statements, and a list of all her family. I flipped through it, finding it hard to believe. "Your father is the CEO of Apex Group?" I saw her personal savings and thought of the bank card I was going to give her, suddenly feeling like I was robbing the rich to give to the poor. When I got to her physical stats, my face got hot, and I closed the file. Nina knelt by the bed, her blue eyes sincere. "Leo, the first time I saw you was at the national math competition in our sophomore year. I've liked you ever since. I'm not showing you this for any other reason than to prove that I am physically healthy, mentally stable, and financially independent. My feelings for you are based on one person's admiration and love for another. You don't have any moral obligation to me. In fact, the fact that you like me at all is an unexpected joy. Clara is a lucky fool. She doesn't understand that your love is priceless. I will accept any kind of relationship you want, whether it's boss or friend. I'm telling you I like you only because I want you to know that your existence is enough to make another person happy." My eyes filled with tears. I mumbled, "Thank you. I really needed to hear that tonight." I composed myself and pushed a bank card toward her. "For now, let's stick with an employer-employee relationship." Nina didn't seem surprised. She took the card and held out her hands. Would the employer like a hug from a friend? I hesitated, then leaned in. She wrapped her arms around me gently, smelling like sunshine. It was such a warm hug, yet I felt an unexplainable sadness. Nina didn't say anything, just patted my back gently until I fell asleep. The next day, we set off. The climb was hard for me, but in the end, we reached the top. We camped at the summit. In the morning, when I unzipped the tent and saw the snowy peak, I finally felt a real sense of a new beginning. This time, my mind was empty. I just quietly watched the sun rise. Over the next 2 years, I climbed mountains, sometimes with Nina, sometimes alone. Clara would send me messages now and then. Even when I changed my number, she always found the new one. I never replied. Until one day, when Nina and I were in a coffee shop at the bottom of a glacier, we saw Clara sitting alone. I whispered something to Nina and walked over to Clara's table. I said, "If you have something to say it now." Clara's dark eyes were locked on me. She said, "Leo, if you come back, I'll give you anything you want." The veins on her hand holding the coffee cup were popping out. She was still wearing the engagement ring. I noticed the ring was changed. The diamond snowflake was now set in it. "I can overlook the thing with Nina. Leo, I love you. I've always loved you. I just didn't know how to face it. So many things went wrong. I hated you for not siding with me, and I was worried if you were with me for the family money or because you loved me. I never touched any of those men." I looked at Clara, my heart completely calm. Even though she was right there, she felt far away, more distant than the glacier. I said softly, "Clara, after all these years, do you really not know if I loved you? You just assumed I would always be there waiting, so you had a safe place for your emotions. In my world, that's not love." Clara's face went pale. She spoke quickly. "I'll learn how to love you, Leo. I really miss you." I watched her quietly. She had once saved me, but then through day after day of suspicion, she wasted my love until nothing was left. I was still grateful to her. I just decided not to love her anymore. I cut her off. "It's over, Clara. From the moment I made my decision, I was never going to look back." I walked out of the coffee shop and saw Nina leaning against her car. I nudged her. "We should start getting ready for Mount Silver Peak." We reached the top of Mount Silver Peak together. The weather was perfect this time, like the mountain spirit was welcoming us. At the peak, where everything was white, I made a wish for my grandmother. After I finished, I turned and saw Nina with her eyes closed, too. I leaned in and gently kissed her cheek, laughing at the sound of her sudden, flustered breath. I took her hand. "The mountain spirit here is very powerful, so both our wishes will come true." Nina immediately squeezed my hand back tightly. Her ears were bright red, but her blue eyes were shining. My eyes looked out at the huge, silent, snowy view. The past was behind me. I knew there were more mountains waiting for me up ahead.